All right, this Silicon Valley startup has only been in business for about 7 months, but it's already raised $7 million, all that money flowing to Instagram, a company that offers an iPhone app which lets users take, upload, and then beautify. Who couldn't use a little beautify? But it's about the sharing of pictures that can be viewed by anyone who follows those users. Joining us now, CEO Kevin Systrom, who has the Twitter for pictures. And indeed, I downloaded the app and started using it about 2 weeks ago, so I could post pictures on Twitter. This thing's taken off like wildfire.
It's taken off amazingly well. It's been 7 months and we have more than 4 million registered users. We feel very humbled about how quickly it's grown to a very vibrant community.
That can be a nightmare for a tech company.
It can be. And with 4 people, we have many late nights. But
well, you have 4 people?
We have 4 people right now, yeah. But we're growing the team very quickly. It's an amazing experience.
But you have 4 people and how many users?
4 million users.
That's going to be like the biggest delta I've ever heard of. That's incredible.
Yeah. It's been a fantastic ride along the way, but it's something we've been meaning to do forever, so it's great.
So as this business grows, how wedded are you to Twitter? Because, as I mentioned, I couldn't find a really simple way to put pictures on Twitter. Instagram is that, at least for me.
Right. Instagram has really become a way for people to share photos on many different platforms, not just Twitter, but also Facebook, Tumblr, Flickr, etc., as well as our own proprietary Instagram network. We're not necessarily wedded to Twitter, but it's certainly one of the ways that we've grown very quickly.
But you must have some notion of how many of your users are using it with Twitter. What is the number?
Yeah, it's about 25%. 25% of our users share. Yeah. And it's really interesting because that allows us to reach many more people than we would have if Twitter didn't exist.
Indeed. So this LinkedIn IPO it's the buzz of the venture capital industry. It's the buzz of Silicon Valley, and today the buzz of Wall Street. What do you make of this as a startup company that people are looking to already as something big, maybe something IPO worthy?
Yeah, so it's interesting because IPO for the longest time was a 4-letter word, right? For the last few years.
Technically no.
Technically no, but it was a 4-letter word, right? So what I see happening now is more and more companies are kind of eyeing that destination where M&A used to be the exit, right? For us, we're so young that it's not even on the radar yet.
Talk to me about revenues and how you guys are going to get paid.
Absolutely. So again, we're so young that we're still figuring that out, but we have a lot of interesting ideas. I think in the history of media, the advertising mediums that have made the most money have been when you push images to people, and that's what our core is, and I think it'll be interesting to explore that.
One of the things I think is so different about technology now is the cost of doing a startup. You've raised $7 million, which in the history of venture capital isn't much.
Right.
Is that enough money to keep you going for how long, and who were those investors?
Yeah, so our main investor was Benchmark Capital. We have a few other investors as well, like Jack Dorsey, who founded Twitter, actually. Adam D'Angelo was the CTO at Facebook, and a few others. That money, it varies how long that will last. It depends on growth, but at this rate, I think growth is accelerating to the point where it's not going to be very long.
Also interesting when you look at the users of this. Tom Keene, who has a show on our very network, loves this thing. It's the only technological thing. I think he's still working on a 2-wheeled bicycle, but he loves Instagram.
Yeah, it's been amazing to see how many people didn't think they needed another network, and we have folks like Snoop Dogg, Jamie Oliver, Rosie O'Donnell signing up every day. And that, I think, shows the promise of a network based on photos.
Well, and Snoop Dogg and Tom Keene, those guys, they hang out together all the time. You can see how they'd be in the same network.
Absolutely.
Talk to me about the very notion of it, because network technology is at the network theory is at the heart of so many interesting businesses. Is that where this started?
Absolutely. It started based on the fact that you wanted to distribute your photos as quickly as possible to as many people as possible. And by hooking up with those networks like we were talking about before, Twitter, Facebook, et cetera, we've been able to do that. And what happens when you start sharing onto those platforms is your friends see it, and it starts this viral loop that grows the product. There's
also this thing about phones having better quality cameras, but you guys do this really neat thing with filtering and stuff. Why'd you decide to do that?
Yeah, when we sat down to work on Instagram, we listed out the top problems we had with mobile photography, and the #1 problem was that we felt our images weren't exactly up to snuff. So being photographers, my co-founder and I sat down and said, what can we do to really make your images
Instead
pop?
of teaching people how to take better pictures?
Right, exactly. That's
take a step forward, frame the shot?
Exactly. So this actually lets you take your photo and transform it using one of a dozen of filters that we've created, whether it gives it a retro look or something a little more futuristic. But everyone seems to really love it. It's very much the core of what our product is about.
It's wild stuff and viral in many ways, just like LinkedIn has been as well. I wish you a lot of success, and thanks for coming on. John?